Hello there, and welcome to Gaming Chat. Now, today I would like to talk about my favorite series of all time, The Legend of Zelda. Now, this episode is a little bit different from our usual episodes. Aside from the fact that I'm kind of very animated in this episode, it's because it's Zelda. Who wouldn't be ecstatic about Zelda? Well, it's not as researched or as serious toned as some of the other gaming chats so far that we've had in Season 1. This is more of an opinionated piece, and, well, technically they all kind of are, but this is just me talking about how I really feel about a subject that doesn't have a right or wrong or any sort of side that can be... I'll just go with it and see what you guys think. The bottom line that I'm asking myself is two things. The first is, does The Legend of Zelda really need HD? Now, I wrote an article about this about 2 years ago, and since then, my opinions, I think, have changed. The other thing is, does The Legend of Zelda series need voice acting? Because everything we've had is like sounds like hey and Link, and then of course Link himself with his hayas and all that goodness. Clearly I can't do that. I'm better as a Towns. But that aside, those two questions, people have been asking and debating those things for years. Now, there is no right or wrong answer, but we're in the world of HD right now. It's the year 2013, and the console wars are here. We have the PS4, we have the Xbox One, we have the Wii U. HD is all around us, and it has been for years. But when it comes to HD-styled graphics, Nintendo has never really felt like it needs it. But then I've seen games like Pikmin 3, where you have these beautiful landscapes. The Pikmin, the world that they inhabit, I've always loved. And then I took a look at Pikmin 3, and I was like, it was so beautiful. It was so incredible. And I was like, well, Pikmin never needed HD. But the moment they gave it to it and they did it right, it was like heaven. It didn't need it, but they added the right touch and bam, magic happened. So can they do that with Zelda? Well, of course they can. It's going to be a lot more complicated though, because with an HD creation of the world, you're upping the graphical standard, which is something that they've never cared to do before. So if they're going to upgrade the graphical standard, it's got to go with the art style of the game. That's a big one. Just because it's HD doesn't mean that there isn't going to be a certain way that they present it that we might not like. For example, when we say HD, I want to clarify, it's more of that high definition, like it's really, really got a lot of, I don't know, polygons, whatever the proper term is. It's like watching a cutscene. We're going the closer and closer we're getting to cutscene graphics, the HD level in terms of that, getting more and more detail in every single action and motion, environments, the way they load. It's all of that. And like I said, Pikmin 3 was a beautiful example of how it can be done right. Not to say other games haven't, but for Nintendo though. So The Legend of Zelda, one of their biggest franchises of all time, I think would look beautiful in HD. I mean, they had an HD tech demo, I guess, and that still wasn't the level of high definition I was looking for. I felt like it was slightly off. But then, the more I thought about it, the more I realized, well, they went for a certain art style in that demo. They always do. Whether you think they mean to or not, each and every single Zelda game is different in terms of art, both in the concept art and literally what you were looking at. Skyward Sword had watercolor type graphics. Ocarina of Time, was the first one of its kind to be 3D. So when they set out and made Twilight Princess, of course that had more detail, and that was, well, a lot of people were saying, yeah, that's the true graphical sequel to Ocarina of Time. But if you compare Ocarina of Time to Twilight Princess, it's not just the fact that it's better 3D graphics, it is darker toned. It is, in essence, a different art style. So as far as Zelda needing HD, or I guess rather, I don't think it needs it, but it should have it. But then what form will it take? What kind of HD? Because take a look at Wind Waker. Wind Waker is getting some sort of HD remake or upscaling. Whatever it is, it's beautiful and it's great. It's HD cell shading. So I'm thinking a nice HD mature game that's not as dark as Twilight Princess, but that is not as light as Skyward Sword. I think the Ocarina of Time approach to HD would make every Zelda fan happy. No matter what way it goes, every Zelda fan would be happy. And I think that would definitely be where I want the next Zelda game to be. Is like I said, the HD version of Ocarina of Time. Not the way that they upgraded it, but like taking the idea of mix of darks and lights and just have a balance, something that's more, I don't want to say plain, but something that is, it's hard to put into words. But I think you know what I'm trying to say. At least I hope you know what I'm trying to say. But then with HD also comes the other question. Voicing. Voice actors in a Zelda game? I mean, we have them technically, but we don't have voices. They have text, but that's it. So, begs the question, today with Silent Heroes, it can be done. Look at Dead Space 1. Now, of course, this is the most highly regarded series, Dead Space, but start with Dead Space 1. Our hero, Isaac Clarke, he was mute. Everyone else around him talked, and yet it seemed to work perfectly. I didn't have any problem with it whatsoever. I mean, with some elements they were trying to achieve didn't work out because of the silent hero. But as just playing the game, it did work. And the sequel, they made him talk. Completely different. And so for what they were aiming for, they kind of flopped in terms of dealing with dialogue and having a silent hero. But knowing Nintendo, they could pull it off. But then the question is, should everyone else talk and have Link remain silent? Or should Link finally have a voice? I mean, the last time he had a voice was, "Excuse me, princess," and of course that wasn't really Nintendo's doing. CDI games, the anime thing, I mean, we can just ignore those, we really can, and look and say, well, should Link have a voice? Technically, he does. He's had a couple different voice actors who have done the sounds for him. And because he has the sounds, you can actually very vaguely imagine what his voice would be. It's very hard because he hasn't actually said any words, but his hi-ahs and their ahs, you can kind of piece those together and say, you know what, you can take gentle steps into giving him a voice. Maybe at the beginning of a game you could introduce the voice. Who knows? I have no idea how it should be done, but I would like to see the other characters in the game have a full-blown cast of audience members. I think that's the first step. Give them voices, keep Link mute for maybe 1 or 2 more games, and then bring it in. So I say maybe one fully fledged Zelda game, the one that's probably coming out for the Wii U. Don't give Link a voice. In the next game after that, console game, I think maybe he should have a voice. It's something I want to see. Nintendo has experimented a lot with the Zelda series. They've done things like animal transformations, they've introduced all these, flutes and ocarinas and musical instruments, there's always some sort of music thing we can expect. But they're always trying to find something new, whether it's with motion controls and having a sword and shield in hand, or I guess using a tablet next. Different items, the way they innovate. Every game has something that's a slight step forward, or they stay the same with the Zelda formula. So I guess the question comes back to you guys. How do you think an HD Zelda game should look? How do you think it should feel? That one's obviously not going to be the one most of you talk about. It's going to be about Link's voice. And I think it should be tried and then read the fans' response. You know, see how we handle it. It's hard. I mean, for me to say for Link to have a voice is... There's some great articles on there about why Link as the silent hero and the way he handles things is. I think Link, if he has a voice, it would be so minimal. It would be during these big important cutscenes. Like if people are talking to him, he doesn't talk back. So just kind of maybe imagine just during the big cutscenes, Link gets a voice where it's obvious he needs to talk. Like he's talking with Zelda. I mean, it makes sense. But they've pulled it off before to make us feel like it's okay that he doesn't speak. So I want to see it at least for one game. Maybe not all of them, but I just want to try it. And if it's done right, then we'll continue with that. But having Link be the silent hero is important for many reasons. And I don't think it should be taken lightly to let go of his voice. So maybe it should just stay that way. I'm torn. I mean, you guys know I'm a hardcore Zelda fan. I have thousands of dollars of Zelda merchandise. I'm a dedicated fan, and it's hard to actually know what I want in terms of his voice. I don't know if I want it. So I'm sorry to ramble about this subject. It's just one that I wanted to throw out there. Something that we couldn't do in our podcast. It's a personal question from me to you. And I know it's been done before, but I think we are really at a spot that we really need to discuss this issue over the next couple of years. So whether you're watching them from the end of 2013 or at the beginning of 2015, I feel that this will still be relevant, and I think it's going to be a relevant question for many years to come. Because if he does get a voice, like I said, once we get it, are we going to like it? And is that going to take away from our experience of the player being Link? Whatever it comes down to, all I know is that everything I just said. It's hard for me to script this. It's hard for me to put it into words, so I just kind of threw it out there. So sorry if this was kind of long. But as always, I'm going to fade out here. This is going to be the wall of discussion. You guys will leave your comments below. And the best and video responses and comments I'm going to put in the wall of discussion. They're going to be annotated, so if you're watching this on a mobile device and it's the future and annotations have been enabled, great, but if they still haven't on mobile devices and TVs, then you're out of luck. So I suggest saving this and watching it on my computer later, because I know it can be difficult to look through the comments section and reading, all sorts of comments. So I take them and annotate them so you guys can see what everyone has to say in a clear and organized manner. Whole minute dedicated to you guys, so you guys can continue the discussion with ease. So, I am Link584, and you know what? This has been an interesting conversation.